and speak my mind right here. I was born in 1929, and I remember as a child, my parents had my funeral stayed. And the little I remember of it, I had a brother born while we were up. We had a cabin living here. And my brother was born here. And the greatest thing that I remember of it, not too much of it, but my aunt told me, took me to her next house, and she told me that a rabbit was going to bring a baby to my mother. And I used to look for these rabbit tracks, and I used to hate that rabbit because I wanted to stay a baby. But anyway, it was born here. It's just about the only thing I can remember of that time I was there. And then I remember that's where we grew up. Till I started school in we used to go up north. And then I went to a residential school, and that was at the late 30s. And I don't remember, because we were at home only for the summer months, and then went back to school for the next 10 months. So I don't really remember too much of it. And when I left school, it wasn't because I wanted to leave school. It was the death of my mother then. And I had to stay home for a while, and then I got married. I got married on January 7th of 1947 to the people that I didn't know too much of. And from living out here and then going up north with these people right shortly after we got married. And I remember when we passed in Cold Lake, supposedly, because I was my father-in-law, they got some groceries, and it wasn't too much of anything. I remember there was flour and all of it, just a necessities. And they bought a little bit of meat. And I was thinking, how are we going to live if that's all we're going to buy? Anyway, he started shooting things on the road, like grouse, with chickens and rabbits, and they cooked it. And I know she bought some beef, a little bit, and pork. Not that I was too big for all our cabins, which I didn't think too much of that. I was going to start with it. But a little I knew, we made our way through the Primrose Lake. We stopped here and there to camp. My father-in-law knew the people that lived right here, such as these people that lived there, living around these white people. They camped there, and then the next place we stopped us in Supper. Then we went to the place where he had his cabin, and that's right across the Primrose Lake. The place was called and chipped on Birch Island. got there. And it was sort of lonely for me because it was just, but it was a miserable cabin. And I remember when we got back there, they got up really early in the morning and they packed up their lunch. I remember they were sitting by our stove, it was still dark. The old lady and the old man, of course they weren't old men. They both made a separate, I was watching them, they both made a separate lunch for themselves. And they both had a little half sack. And they left. It was still dark. Anyway, during the daytime, the man I was married to used to trap muskrats around the lake, I think. And then in the daytime, he used to go out shooting squirrels. And I didn't know nothing about bush life at that time. I was very new to everything. But what surprised me most on that, they had all kinds of meat when we got back to that place. They had caribou meat, moose meat, fish of every kind, muskrats, and even dry meat. It was all in, they had made a sort of a log cabin. That was their deep cruise, I guess. And pounded meat, and well, they had all varieties of different meat. When we got back, I remember my mother-in-law, supposed to be, brought me some dried meat. And I was thinking, how could they get those things out of here? How do they do this and all that? Anyway, I remember then that it was really no struggle for food. We had all kinds of varieties of meat. And we got back this way. They had to bring the horses back, I think, this way. And so we came back. And I think my old man used to look after the horses and back there for his parents. The only time he comes back is to pick them up at Easter time, before Easter. He goes back and gets them. But in the meantime, we were back here. But one thing I remember, I used to look forward to their coming home because they used to have plenty of course, whatever they were hunting, whatever they were trapping. And I knew they had enough money. And they used to buy me things, I used to look after, I used to look forward to their coming home anyway. And as years went by, I started to have children year after another. And I started losing my sight. First time, my husband used to go out with his parents. But then as I started having children, they were only a year apart, 3 of them in a row, and he knew that I was getting blind, and he wouldn't leave me then. They were naughty, and my children were naughty and really hyper, so it was sort of hard for me, especially when you're blind with little ones like that. 3, 2, and 1. Anyway, he kind of stayed around me. So he off and on, if I had somebody to stay with me, then he used to go up. He used to go and stay up north with his parents. But during that time, I remember we used to look forward for their coming back from up north, because at Christmas time, if they do come back for Christmas, they used to bring us a big box full of groceries. And that was our food hamper. And clothes for my kids. And in the fall time, they still go up north, whether to make hay or for their horses and hunting. That's where they seem to prepare for their winter stay, I guess. And right after 1st of November, people were quite much with the church then, so they never used to leave till after 2nd of November. And then they all go up north, then they come in only at Christmas time. That's when I mean that I used to look forward. We used to look forward for their coming back, because that's when we get clothing and food for my children. And even my children, they used to count how many nights till Grandpa and Grandma are coming home. They used to ask me that. And they really used to look forward for that, because even though I didn't go up there and my husband, well, we got enough from them anyway. They used to bring us enough food back. And right after Christmas again, they've done the same thing, go back. Easter, they've done the same thing. Then again, they used to buy us a bunch of things like groceries and wild meat. And again, I used to look forward for Easter of their coming back. A few years I spent with my children and look forward for this, for Easter and Christmas. And when they went up north, I knew then that they never came home without dinner. If they did, very seldom. And they even used to bring me berries in a birch bark. They used to make baskets out of birch bark, and it was sew it out. My mother-in-law used to bring me cranberries or whatever. And that used to keep a long time, because the cranberries can spoil. And that was... Anyway, after they they weren't going up north anymore. After they got paid for their traveling, I knew then they were sort of lost. They used to work around here, maybe brushing, whatever they can do for their livelihood, to live and live.
Mrs. Jarvie, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
Thank you. When you see that people used to go up north in the winter, how many people from Cold Lake would generally leave to go up or go north?
How many people?
Yeah.
You mean out of my family?
I'm thinking more in terms of the whole community. Was it most of the communities they have?
Yes. Most of the people went up north, yes.
Now, you also mentioned that you used to get a variety of meat from that area. Did you ever have to buy meat back before the range was created?
Very little, but we were, I got enough from my in-laws. So what we did, we were.
So your in-laws used to share with you then?
A lot.
Okay. What would happen when you had extra meat on hand, if ever?
Well, they made sure that my mother-in-law used to dry up the meat. It didn't spoil, but if I had extra, well, that had to go first because we didn't have no freezer. We could keep meat unless we keep it in the well for those days.
Well, now after the range was created, what was the meat and fish supply like then?
What's that?
After the range was created in 1952, what was your meat and fish supply like?
They still used to go out. Like I said, they weren't the type of people that stayed home. They had to go out. Well, they lived off the land.
So were you still able to continue to survive then off the land after the range?
Yes.
Did you have to purchase more meat after, or was it roughly the same kind of catch as in the past?
Well, we had to live on whatever we had. The thing, what helped me too was that, like I said, I went blind early in my young days as my little ones were small. And I started receiving blind pension in 1953, in June, the time Queen Elizabeth was crowned. I remember that. So with that little amount of help, and then my in-laws helping into my family pitching in, we managed to survive poor immigrants.
You mentioned that your husband also looked after some horses. What were those horses used for?
Well, that was my in-laws. That's what they used to. It wasn't his. But he used to get them, like I said, before Easter. And then he used to go out with them, like I said. But when he knew I was getting blind and a handful of children,
Did you ever do any farming or ranching either before or after the range was created?
no.
Now, after the range was created, was there any other work around Cold Lake that could be done?
Well, I think he worked here and there to whatever he can do. I knew he worked at the base when they were building up that airport.
How long did that type of employment last?
What's that?
How long did that employment last at the Air Force Base?
Let's see. Well, 52 to at least about I can't really remember because I was a person that lived for my family only from a little ways. And I was never too much out, and I was interested more in my family than being out. I didn't know too much about the outside world. So Therefore, I couldn't tell.
Now, did you and your husband ever consider going into farming?
No.
Well,
He had, after they were getting, after my in-laws and my brother-in-laws, they started getting trap money or what, trap line money or whatever they called it, which we didn't get any. But they were sharing some with us. They bought us a cow, and I remember there was a time we had 7 cows and horses, but that was through their help that they donated some with us.
what happened to the cows? What happened to that?
Cows? But again, too, I don't remember too much of it. That's like I say, I mind my own business. I stayed on my side of.
Now, do you remember if your husband was ever paid any compensation?
No.
And one last question, Mr. John B. How old are you, please?
How old I am?
Yes, please.
I'll be 65 next year.
Thank you very much. Those are all the questions I have. Sorry, just to clarify, did you say that there was no compensation paid?
Not to my family, no, not to my husband.
All right, thank you.
That's all the questions from council. Okay, I myself do not have any questions, Mrs. Gallagher, and perhaps some of the other commissioners do. Commissioner Prentice?
Thank you, Mrs. Janvier. Your husband did not receive any compensation.
No,
Why was that?
because the people that got compensation, they had to pay for their trap line license, they used to say. And like I say, he had to stay behind because of me. A lot of times he went with his parents, and when they had to pay for license, where there was a time that he had to stay home with me. And else they were blind. He didn't have the license at the time. The names were all those that paid their license to go into the trap lines. Got their compensation, I think, if that's what you call it, trap line money.
And was your husband a commercial fisherman also? Did he?
He did help, yeah.
And
Labor.
there was no compensation for that either.
No.
What did you talk about that with your husband? How did you feel about the fact that you did not receive compensation?
Well, it didn't bother me that much because, like I said, I wasn't too interested out from the outside world. I didn't know too much of anything. I was mostly around home and looking after my own kids the best way I could.
How many children did you raise, Mrs. Jean-Pierre?
I had 11 children.
11.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Commissioner Gallagher, do you have any questions? No questions? Does council have any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Mrs. Janvier, we have no further questions. However, if there's anything further that you would like to add, we'd certainly be pleased to listen to it. Is there anything further you'd like to say?
Not really.
Okay.
I really don't know. That's the first time I'm in a public like this, and I'm not familiar with anything. I'm still in my own little world, so I just stay there and Whatever, I wasn't involved people. I didn't really know what it was all about, but
Well, we can tell you that we very much appreciate you coming out here and sharing with us some of your experiences. You're very helpful to us, and what you have to say is very important to us. And for you to take the trouble and the time to come and share some of your history with us is very much appreciated, and we can't thank you enough for that. So, Mrs. Jean-Pierre, thank you very much, and you can be excused. Council, do you have next witness?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the next witness is Scholastic Scanning. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good morning, Mrs. Scanning. I'm wondering if you could tell the commissioners today how you and your family made your living prior to the bombing range being established.
well, first of all, I'll say I was born in 1928. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here, to see you all come down to listen to us. Thank you for that.
Thank you for helping us out. Would you prefer Mr. Maurice to just ask you some questions? And
No, I could tell.
Okay.
I could talk.
All right.
I could talk in my language.
whichever is easiest, or whichever you would prefer. You go right ahead.
Well, I think that in my language, it'll be mixed because,
That's okay. You just make yourself comfortable and just tell us what you feel like telling us, and we'll take it from there. Go ahead.
Meu necessite correção, c'est pas éternité. Anets anahitani. Konohi. Assim. Chinchanadi kamitsu. Da enetu. Konahitani. 4 hours of school age child in which are saying boarding schools and St. Paul work at night. 10 months there. Nana school in Sunday. I see any Canada in Canada in the Benoit Chokno I began high annual renovations in Vietnam, we hosted hard north and night. Who Nisi Quayers School Master Asifandi Helori Shelia Sikosha Hello 1950 morning ago, an English job. Unable to remember anything. They didn't farm the bits when we were alone. Unable in a canal cousin, the Nanamiko. 1951 morning ago, the Democrat North Area, King Choker,
Pitato, Canoto, Saidoni, Mutavaleto, Farm Girls, Trappers, White Pavilion, and 50. With the 51 on there, which is each us. North and Primorson. Quite already, I see Golden Shaha. Quando é assim, coxa, ane, Kupe Golden Shaha Master, said some of cases I knew, say if your cases and I knew, I see Golden Shaha Sula, there, Kupe Kanaya, and children, I did Who you're living out who you were 7 miles off the west side of Kainaiti Kaste Ahuye, unable to Tambang Ozin, west and cousin Kilitas, said true. It cousin Ye, Chalazo of the night. Prayer dear, Darat, Quay Diaz, on Satsedi, Tassuti, Darat, that's an experience in it. A contrast, he goes and Kuru, Hadonis, and very clear that from the right on the center. Darat. Company or the whole great house, told yes, crazy. And I think you cook the tea to the crew. He has met how to clear the tea to load exactly why so still load the tea to the sunset. The Bedabra Hostel, Santa Hilfran. There are still Orisha. We went Western Hilly as this thing. There are on it, we bought to Dani called R20 at Sihilia. Who was town? Meet no anyway. Meet us on you. R20 alive, R20. Gone and that equator, who are not a babies and some. Then they what we are so delightful when you're married, so delightful, who were it, we have who is to meet illusion, prayer. Yeah, friends are cook. In Canada, you soon. You not was a love to a granite. Quality that to take hundred. Wait, I'm in contrast. Golden share. Puts in Nathaniel the whole food. It is in at the reach of the Yachika. Then Yach and I did only. He that Yachika Jami Tidu. Good day. Young and Chiria, young Rute, you can't pass on the sun. Where you're at Yachika is Yas. Southern Shamashan, Quay Sambashan, the Ahosu, Saba, HR, Saru, Credo, no need salute, Diliaso, Atu, Kutia, Muskrat, Country, the name, original dealer from a new Arctic Control to Dickie Marriott for Book area, don't Saka, then another view, good sound bus, then it's a Sydney, good bird is some, they need it. Say they need not to free. It's bird, sun, don't see, say carbon maybe. Kubenas me. Say they need a Kevin Yini, Yaga. They need other classes, no, cannot be cannot harm. Kevin. They cannot to bird to Tanai, you bring food across the carpet point. We would add the Tarai that the carpet bring where you come, birds come singing. Where you can tiny deal in night, the origin of Pandu, that another deal is a charges and it's the Denver. Could be, yeah, you charge in a safety day, and a safety day, a seed, flower, says I ask you, tell you, the Dayusuka, when they are seed, some, maybe because I can't know in I. We await on the bird. Do we learn there's not a seat and the the color they're there are seats. Then it's the animator. Cool. Quails in. There's kind of head job cool. See, other than I study, then in Panasta, then in Panasta, just kind of Sancha, and it's Chila, Santarelli, but they graduate in Truba, Panasta, and big box. Quails, a single one. Then you can take one less seat. No one in you could be a seat some Barcelona or something. But as he is a carpet master. Queer, see, carpet and the master who is estimating a seat. Kinchanati. Right. Coolside boarding school night relating each other to you. Soon I was money in the right say Hannah see true. Course yes, unless you can hire it's a hundred and cool. Then it's an I purchase order. Who has he? Victoria I control to Joe code. Find out purchase order oriented. These are my last meeting. Sa it's a 9 cool. 4-year-olds. If you know, I see that made in purchase order. Who's there? See, listen, you will cause it for you. Criticize on you. I see, make us a class C. The challenge in our life, team of forces, it's a good tractor, the knife. Quando é assim, tem se não tinha o que é assim, não é se cai as oceanos. Adana, no listen, no hello to your job. Reserve what's already. What you dying, nas. Nani chamba chamba yeah. Further, and you see that chamba chamba. Then I was missing finish. Then Nani get a real trappers. Chamba chamba chamba. Big chorus. Say habits about farmer and crew, Hedgerat high, that was so that down our case, so I possibly do. Behind is Jody, is that what you see? As long as criminals say that, because it's not they buy them. Who be dying or whole lump. It's too late, you know, they eat. They can't hold them on there. No cannot deal with it. Follow shine. Then I sneak to farmer instructor who you buy $37 and 80 cents. Cool from 37 for the seat on I says can get cheaper. I connect clear seat on I Colocone is the whole and ile. Como se no anara ki the close civil here. No hat what no safety colo for here see. Now we you send me on listen to the and several trees. No koi kana was ni out se kana su chu so na festival kana su chu kuto mo zine hobes pa ko na yi in my days, 16-year-old I mean, you were high school had a huge show, put a kind of very good, put away, cook it high school meeting, none. I don't I think read this it will now to one is and this, who can yala, there you successful mind, the corridor to have this. I said, I put on a country, the one me. Who farm cái này thôi nhiều vậy nhiều còn bị đaren là cháu cũng farm cái này thôi với là cái này thôi chúng tôi nói còn hơn sao là cái nào là tôi chân tiền mà lại như tôi sẽ chơi chú thiện chú cho hắn ấy cái lúc sai lệ gas bạc đi cụ không giờ đang đi chơi gì hắn ấy đang quan ơn một cái cái xin là cái sự chơi thì khá hay là nát kia cháu cụ hồi số đây đã is kind of narrow cháu khu bé bài thì đi lệ khôi rồi I just have to get this yayo this class one see cool quantum na quantum see could just kind of sound there when then is kind of close na then it chila sana miscarriage can be fantasy kolo when na second kolo khana na no ni khana na sto sa so David scan music who of the classes kinds 35 grandchildren not great Kayo natin nanay kanunay na rin pusi nag-800 na sumilakas na kayo Kugat na belaya is cute ko ay yours gosh Kugat na rin out
Thank you very much, Mrs. Scanny. You've been very thorough, so I only have a couple of questions for you. First of all, you mentioned that your father made a decent living doing some farming, and that he also went up north during the winter. What type of things was he doing up north?
Trapping and moose. Meat, things like that. And we always had plenty.
And did he bring back a lot of meat then as a result of that trapping activity up there?
Yeah, brought back we made money up there with fur of all kinds.
Now the money that he made, did that not also help support his farming activities as well?
Yeah, we mostly live on a farm, make butter, make everything all, everything.
Now, after the range was created, your father, like the rest of the community, couldn't go up into the North Country anymore. How did your father make out with his farming after that time?
We still had a farm and a lot of cattle, and a lot of horses, and all kinds of livestock, chickens, even turkeys, and those wild, tame swans, and we had everything.
And going back to just before the range was created, do you remember how you first heard about it?
Well, I heard that it was leased for 20 years, and within 20 years, that something should be done about it. That's how I hear that people should either get paid That's how it's going on. That's how I hear about it.
Did you and your husband ever talk about this?
No. We just lived together and raised children and didn't talk about anything.
Those are all the questions I have. Perhaps Councilman Anderson. What was the name of your husband, Mrs. Scanning?
Dominic Scanning.
And what were his parents' names?
Teddy Scanning and Corinne Scanning. That's my mother-in-law. My father-in-law Scanning.
And your parents were?
Harry Janvier and Mary Janvier.
Now, did your husband have a registered trap line?
Oh, well, I don't really know what registered and what anything means, but he had travelers license, this and that, fishing license. He had all that.
Now, the compensation that was paid, you mentioned there was one payment. Was that in form of cash or purchase orders?
Purchase orders. This is why I didn't get, we didn't know how to act about it, so we didn't get no house. We lived in a house, which I would have liked to do in those days. He did always shopping for the wagon and horses, and just a team of horses, harness, things like that. That's what he got.
Do you remember what year that would have been, that he received that compensation?
My boy would have been, my boys were about 13, 14. My boys were, the oldest ones would have been about 13, 14. In that year, it's just a rough guess.
And what year would that be about?
Well, my oldest boy is 42, and the other ones will be 40, so
So it'll be about 1960, 1961, in that area?
about that time. It will be about that time.
Do you remember your husband ever signing any type of piece of paper or quit claim or release for his trapping?
No, I don't remember those things. Like I said, he never used to sit around to do things like that.
And your husband never received any cash payments at all?
Well, this was different again when we received cash payments, like it was for the oil. I think that I got everything not long ago. It was 17, so that was it for the oil.
For the, sorry, what, oil?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really remember.
What oil is this?
I know I received 17. It's after we didn't live together. I don't know how many years we were separated, but I was raising the children. So they gave me 1,700 for my child. But that, I don't know if it's for that. Who knows, or it's not too long. It's after him and I were doing live together. I received that much. Because my husband was a clerk. And I was raising the children. So he had his own home, I had mine, and we didn't talk.
Right, thank you very much.
Any other questions from council? And Mrs. Scanlon, you talked a lot about the days when the trapping had occurred, and you talked about how much money people made. And then you talked a bit afterwards about the farming and how it got a lot different. How soon after the bombing range and when the trapping ceased How long did you carry on the farming operation, do you know?
Well, we did have farm all the time till we separated everything, drained out on account of alcohol. We both drifted away from each other.
And you say this was on account of alcohol. When the trapping was going on, when that was your lifestyle, was there a problem with alcohol then?
Nothing.
So, and when you say that on account of alcohol, was that your husband started drinking?
I can't blame only my husband. I drank too. I can't hide nothing.
Oh no, that's fine. Did this start to happen after the trapping was all closed down? You're indicating yes. Now, do you know, or are you able to tell us whether or not that was happening in the entire community?
I don't know. I mostly stay here.
Now, do you have any idea why this started to happen? Why the drinking started to happen? I mean, was it because there was no opportunity to go back and trap?
Yeah, there was nothing to do. See, this kept people away from things like that, going back and coming. That's a nice big job, going back and going in and out like that. You've got something to do. You're working. It's a big job going back and forth on a team of horses and things like that. It was only a team of horses.
It sounds like it was a job that you liked as well.
Well, once I got used to from a farm girl to a trapper's wife, well, I began to like this north. Even today, I'm like, there.
You'd like to go back if you could?
Well, I don't want to go back now. There's nothing to go back for. There's no price in fur. Why should I go back there?
I take it though that if you'd have had the choice, I mean, if the bombing range hadn't have gone in, would you and your husband like to have continued on with the trapping?
I don't know. My husband's dead.
But would you have liked to though? I mean, did it bother you that they stopped you from trapping?
No, it didn't bother me because when I started to have children, my home was my home. I never went back there. But these little few years that I stayed up there with my husband, I liked the idea. Staying there and learning a lot of things.
Would you have liked for your children to have had the opportunity to do that as well? Do you think they would have been interested?
Some of my children just go up north.
Did they?
The oldest ones. Like I said, my old boy is 42.
With your children now, how was working around here? Did it become difficult? And were there any jobs for everybody? Or what was that situation like?
It's hard for jobs, especially now. So I don't really know about my children now. I just live by myself out there with one boy, George. But I have one adopted son there. I got two boys down there living with me. But one of my daughters lives with me. Two little kids.
No, just a little bit about again the period of time in which you started hearing about the range being closed in this 20-year lease. Do you know how you heard that or from who?
I can't say from who, but I have ears. I hear it from here and there. So, and when my father was a chief and this and that, I was not allowed to listen. So it was my mother. So we can't catch anything. All the time, because we never used to come to meetings.
You
We
didn't know
we
of
were
that?
not allowed.
You never heard of any meetings or anything with government or anything like that, did you?
No.
Those are all of my questions, Mrs. Gannon. Perhaps the other commissioners may like to ask you some questions. Commissioner Belder?
Thank you. Good morning, Mrs. Taylor. So the first time you cut up a hind quarter of moose meat, it came out like crumpled paper.
It looked like a lace,
And get
big
that,
lace.
you mentioned as well that the game wardens pestered you when you were hunting and bringing the meat home and
Yeah.
sharing it amongst the people.
I
How did they do that?
think already they were after people. Because I remember my husband and I, we used to sneak the meat across on a team of horses. At the coldest nights, 68 below, me and my husband used to take turns driving the horses across.
Did anyone ever tell these game wardens about the treaty right to hunt, fish, and trap in that territory? Do you remember anything about that?
No, someone was told them. I've heard over and over in meetings now that nobody should stop us from that.
Like you were forced almost to act like criminals and feeding yourselves and your families.
Yeah, we have to sneak. Now I don't know, but, more and more and more you have to. You get in trouble, with hunting. Fishing, I hear many times that the nets were taken out by,
At that time,
not at that time, even now.
even though,
Yeah, I hear things like that, but I don't ask further questions, but I just hear. Like I said, I have ears.
very good. Thank you, Mrs. Gannon.
Commissioner Prentice?
Mrs. Scanny, did your husband sign a document of some kind when he received the compensation?
I cannot say because I was not present with him. I was home. So I cannot say what he did. This I cannot tell you because I haven't seen it.
Do you
And we
ever,
never talk about
I see, so you don't remember if anyone ever explained to him what compensation he was receiving and
No.
why?
it. I don't know nothing about it. And I'll never know because he's gone.
Now, your cabin was at Poplar Tree Point?
Pardon?
You said earlier that it was Poplar Tree Point that the cabin was at?
Yeah, by the lake, yeah.
That's on the lake,
You
isn't it?
can see the lake where we used to live. And further, that's 7 miles, that's where we used to go to get fur like squirrels and things like that. Minks and all that.
And was Poplar Tree Point near the village that was there?
Yeah, no, well, it's not too far from Sacramento. It's in Coffee County, I think. It's not far. On Sundays, we used to go down here to the Sacramento. Meet there, friends from all over, our families. Meet there, laugh all the evening, and got to get home. Play cards, for fun and this and that.
That was at Suckerville, and there was a church there too, wasn't there?
I don't know, I never went to church there, but people were said it. I don't know nothing about church there.
Thank you very much.
Further questions? Do you have anything else you'd like to tell us, Mrs. Gannon?
I guess I said no. I didn't.
If you did, we want to thank you for that. You sound like you have some wonderful memories there, and I think I speak for all of us when we say it's sad that they weren't able to continue for you and that life wasn't as pleasant later on.
Yeah.
However, we're delighted very pleased that you could come and share with us some of your experiences and provide us with some information that's very important to us and to the work that we have to do. So we appreciate very much you taking the time and trouble to come here and enlighten us and help us with our job. Thank you very much. We have the next witness.
In addition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next witness we have this morning is Mr. Charlie Matchaway. Morning, Mr. Matchaway.
Good morning.
I understand, sir, that you're now 64 years old.
That's right.
And 50 years ago, when they were creating the Primrose Lake Air Weapons Range, I understand that you were in services at that time.
I was in the service, but I did participate in some of the action, the trapping and fishing area. But I would like to begin with a statement here I'd like to mention.
Please go ahead.
Before we carry on.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Charlie Mitchell, a band member of the Coal Lake First Nation. Born in 1928 on the Gulf Reserve. Which makes me 64 years old. In 1931, I was sent to school with my sister in Blue Quills in St. Paul in a residential school, due to the fact that we got hit by a tornado at home and destroyed our home. So that was one of the reasons why I had to go to residential school. At the age of 13, I completed my grade 8 and was terminated from school. I had no further education to work for or to go to, because high school was very limited and the funding just wasn't available. So I had no choice but to come back to the farm, and I remained in 1942 and helped my dad on the home farm to care for livestock and help in the farming. And that's about what I did in 1942. In 1943 is when I first ventured up north, up to the Primrose Lake area. My dad took me up there on a commercial fishing to do some commercial fishing. And also we did trapping that year for the winter months. Then we did muskrat trapping in the spring. So that just about complete 1943 is actually pretty well where I was broke into the north. In 1944, I went up with my grandfather, stayed in the trapper's cabin up there between the junction of Martinal River and the Muskeg River. That was his allotment for his trapping area, and he shared me his trap line with him and educated me in the trapping area and taught me a lot of northern life and the way of life in the north. And I spent the whole winter with him. That same spring, I spent the spring trapping rats with my dad in the same area, the Martin River area. We trapped muskrat. He also taught me how to trap rats, skin the rat, stretch them, skin them, and whatever. So that was pretty well what I did in 1944. And pretty well much the same in 45, 46, right up to about 1948. There was a lot of activity up in the Primrose area at that time. There was what Primrose had to offer, what there was in Primrose, for when I say people, I mean the band members, the people that are affiliated that were allowed to be up in that area. For trapping, fishing, hunting, logging, recreation, for their holidays in summer, and also for materials that they can pick, like birch bark, to build their canoes. I helped my granddad build a canoe, snowshoes, baskets for storage, food storage, toboggans, and also that made moose hide for dog harness. That's what Primrose had to offer the people, and which was plentiful. They made a successful living out of it, and it was very enjoyable. It was a pleasant way of life. And also, in addition to that, Primrose had other offers in different, in other areas, like aviation. We had airplanes flying back and forth to transport travelers to and from locations where you can't get in with the horse and buggy, with the horse and sleigh. And also the creditors here that did our supplying for us for our trap lines, get our grub stake and our trapping supplies. There was the Hudson Bay, they benefited by it. Josh Banger's General Store from Beaver Crossing, Brady's General Store, Bill Clark from Cold Lake, Charlie Penske, and there's a couple other general merchants that supplied food and material for the trappers. So they benefited from the Primrose Lake area. There was also logging industries where there was work available, that was made available, where there was logging operations with these contractors as Tom Millard, Pollard, Vic Hatch, Olson, Arnold, Lobey Lumber Company. They had logging camps up there, which employed some of the local boys to do contract work on piecework, labor work, time work, hourly work, or whatever, but there was money to be made. So it was pretty well a choice what you wanted to do. And out of these logging operations too as well, it wasn't all in terms of cash. You could take lumber and trade, and you could also take posts or rails, and you always came back with some that you could use on the farm. The fishing part, there was also commercial fishing in the industry, and also domestic. You could fish for your own use and also commercial. That was available for the people. Yeah, what the Primrose Lake area meant to the people of this area, the neighboring communities and other reserves. From the beginning of my time, it was always mentioned and discussed in this area. Everyone you talked to, how did you make out this year? How was your year this year? And what did you do? And it was always something to do with the Primrose Lake area. It was their livelihood and survival. It was a living that they got out of the Primrose Lake area. They had the freedom of trapping and hunting, means of survival. There was never ever any food or any carcasses or animals wasted. Anything that was killed was used, the hide, the carcasses, even the bone structure was used. That was the people's livelihood. That's what they got out of Primrose. They went over there in the fall of the year. I know my grandfather was a born trapper, and as far as I'm concerned, he was a professional trapper. He trapped up there in the Primrose Lake area all his life. He would go up in July and prepare camp for the winter. He would cut hay, small stacks of hay, in preparation for someone that was going to bring them up there so the horses had some feed. Or if they had to keep a horse up there, they had hay. So they did this all by hand with a scythe and a hand rake. Maybe a ton of hay. And also the lady folks were doing their berry picking, dehydrating berries, preparing for the winter months, storing food, making their birch bark baskets, and also the lacing from the roots to lace their baskets with. This was all done in the fall of the year while they're up there. So then come the hunting season. Of course, the men folk went out hunting, killed their moose, dehydrated their moose, stored their food, and then they came back after that was done. So that was a preparation there for about maybe a month to 6 weeks. Then they came back after the hunting season, then they come back here for what they call the Indian summer. They come back here and put everything away, put their home here, lock up their doors, and prepare to leave for the winter. So about later on, maybe mid-October, whenever winter set in, that's when they went back up north to do their trapping. Now, you want to go trapping this year? Okay, go trapping. But what my dad did was he would go trapping 1 year fully. But then the next year he would, just to let the animals build up again. So he would go fishing. So he was trying to split the two areas between fishing and trapping. Then they're gone up north, now they do their trapping. Come back at Christmas to bring their furs and come home for the Christmas festive season. And there were celebrations, feasts. You could go to almost every house, any house. There was a feast, you were fed. There was plenty of food. There was good relationship. Everybody spoke to one another, told stories, told jokes, played cards. You visit, it's a kind of rotation. You just visit anyone that you wanted to visit and have a real good relationship. Of course, this happened during the Christmas season, and then right after Christmas, of course, everybody goes back up north again. And at that point, there was very, very little liquor involved. There was no liquor at all because it was very, very, the government was really strict about liquor on reserve at that time. So we did make a batch of brew. I did too. But anyway, that was maybe just a one-night thing. However, from there on, there was nothing. The people went back up north and trapped from the first, after the new year, right till the spring, till the pelts started to discolor. There's a change of color sometime about in February and March. March, I believe, is when the coarse furs started to discolor. And then the finer furs, like I'm talking about the beaver, the rat, they come to their prime about in April. And that's when the rat season and beaver season opens. So there's a line there. So you have to change that. And so you go and trap your rats till your muskrat till, let's say, about the middle of April, and that's their mating season, of course. And then they discolor as well. Then they become their summer colors. Of course, you have to shut everything down, and then everybody comes home for the summer. But by this time, they made enough money, got enough furs to carry on their living for the summer. That's what they lived on. Because I know my grandfather brought all his pelts, turned them over to McGilvery. I believe was the Hudson Bay manager at that time at the Hudson Bay and Coal Lake. I think his name was McGilvery, and I know Leslie Hill was after. He turned over his furs, and McGilvery was the banker. My granddad never got him to pay in full. He could if he wanted to, but he left it there. So McGilvery acted as a banker and also a merchant, a supplier, and a grocery man. And that's what he lived on. Anytime he went on groceries, he had a line of credit there. So again, there's May and June and July, and then of course start all over again. So this was the way the cycle went in the trapping. Now, I'll just skip that for a while and go into fishing, into the commercial fishing. There's quite a few of the members here got into private enterprises, their own fishing operations. Some have a lot of fishing nets and did real well in commercial fishing. Made their living, made a tremendous amount of money. And also, they could get their domestic out of it. They could get their own use. And that was the fishing part of it. And of course, there was quotas there too that they had to abide by. And then again, the logging. There was always a logging camp going where you can decide if you need some lumber, you can go and work for it. That's about as I know I'm missing a lot here, but I may have to skip and come back a little bit. Yeah, this went on to about 1948. 1947, I believe it was, in 48 was the first time that I ever heard. It was discussed between my uncle and my dad. When my uncle came to the house and told my dad, he says, you know, he says, I believe we're going to lose our trapping rights. And I said, why? Well, I just got word today, so this word circulating around that they're going to build a bombing range, an air weapons range. And he says, we're going to have to surrender our rights. And of course, that's the first time I heard about it. But at that point, at that time too, when and then they started having meetings. They had meetings up at the Cold Lake Dance Hall. They had meetings. They're open meetings up with non-natives and natives as well. They were mixed. And I think the meetings were just pertaining to public opinions, individual opinions, what they expected if this should happen. And at that time, the laws were, if you were under 21 years of age, you had no voice and no vote. So you were not considered to be in attendance to any of these negotiations or any adult meetings. Like I was 20 years old in 1948. I went to a couple of the sessions in Cold Lake, listened, but I couldn't voice any opinion. I couldn't say nothing because I was underage. And at that time too, I've listened to some of the lady folk here. I think at that time too, the law, the rules, the lady folk were sort of, should I say a minority, should I say that they were not allowed, like they were sort of exempt. It was strictly the man's word. The lady folk didn't attend to these meetings. That's why I was listening here for a couple of days now when the lady folk having a problem to try and identify exactly what happened at that time because they were not present at those meetings and the hearings. And I'm sure, I stand to be corrected, that the lady folk at that time didn't have a voice either. So it was really a sort of an elder's position. Like my dad and his age group. When they made that final decision, that was it. So we just had to follow the plan. But when they proceeded with these meetings about the air weapons range, I myself at that point was looking after thinking for myself. Well, since we're going to lose, there's not much point in me sticking around. So I got to venture elsewhere. So what I did then, I went working in construction for a couple of years. Went to the spray dam, ran the cap there for the whole part of the summer. Went in the oil field. And after a couple of years of that, I decided it wasn't what I really wanted. I wanted an education, but I didn't have the money or a place to go. So what I did, I joined the armed forces in 1952. which I think I made the right move. It educated me a little further, and I got to see the world and communicate with the outside world. It helped me along. In the meantime, while I left was when all this was taking place. So I really can't tell you anything in detail, the time and dates of what happened. I know I did sign, my signature is on one of those papers where my dad said, well, you have to sign and stand, not was being an agent at that time in St. Paul. He was there with the list. I was pretty well. Dad said, well, you have to sign, so I signed. Okay. But I never did get any money. I just turned everything to my dad because there was no point in the amount of money that I got wasn't, I couldn't stick around for it. It's not feasible for me. But during the time that I was working up in the north, because I was up with the criminal, in the criminal area doing like fishing and trapping and logging and that, I averaged an income, say around about maybe $3,000 a winter. So that was an average, a good average income. And that's from, let's say, October till later part in June. And also just, back, like I say, I'm going to skip, I'm going to go back a little bit. There's a lot of operations. When I say there's quite a lot of locals, when they were done logging up north, the ties, I'm talking about ties, the railroad ties, there were the railroad ties coming out of the north country. There was locals hired to drift these ties down the river. And at the mouth of the river over there, they were, I just forget they call they back in one big long line and they bring them across the lake. So when they bring them across the lake, they dock them over here in the town site. And a lot of local members, well, say, well, let's go for it. And they go down there and they peel ties and bring these ties out of the water, right? And that was some fun for the summer. And this went on for, well, every year that I was around. So that North Country really served a neighboring community. It really did. After, let's see, after when I come back, of course, the air base was all built and everything was pretty well confirmed. And no more fishing, no more trapping, no more logging up north. We're out of the bombing range area, they built the fence and the gate and guards and security and what have you, so we restricted to go down to the bombing range completely. I was only here for about a year, and then I left, went to trade school, went to Calgary for a few years, Calgary Tech. But I noticed a vast difference when I come back in 1955. It was really absolutely, it was so mixed up. The members, the people in the local area, and just totally in the dark. We didn't know what to do. It was just didn't know how to explain that. So mine was still up in that area, but they can't go because there's a gate there. You can't go there no more. You'd have to get shot or go to jail. It did really hurt a lot of people. We got frustrated. Relationships started to, there's a little bitterness in the area. And it really got bad, the worst. It was really terrible for a while. I don't know. It just turned everything around from good to bad. And that's going on 40 years now. I have noticed in the last little while things, the situation, the atmosphere is starting to change a bit. The younger generation have a different view I think they're looking in different areas, starting to forget about the bombing range now because there's no hope that they'll ever go back to it. But this is where the problem, there's another problem. When you're looking at go some direction, and the intent is there, but there's no movement, how can you get there when you don't have any funding or money or anything to operate with? I know there's a lot of the young people here have asked me several times to come and train them to be apprenticeship as a mechanic or welders and stuff like that, which I've had. I've got 7 German tradespeople here on the reserve, but when you don't have the money to do these things, it's rather difficult. And there's a lot of quality people here, younger people. They're willing to go in that direction, but you just don't have the money to, and nothing to work with. So the bombing range, losing the bombing range rights really set this community really back to the ground. It really did. We were a very, very proud community. This reserve was a very respectable reserve that we were, I would say, above average. A lot of the individuals had livestock, they had gardens, they had homes, and it was just a happy go lucky. We had good recreation here. We had good ball teams. We had good racing. We had good rodeos. Now we don't have that. We have to since we lost the bombing range. And when we had the bombing range, when the guys came in, everybody had time. They had money to live with. So we had good recreation. We had treaties here 1 week at a time. Dance for a whole week. Didn't have to work. Dance a whole week. Play ball, hand games, Indian dances. Now we can't do that because we don't have no money. We got nothing to turn to. It really hurts. Yeah, like I mentioned, I said losing the bombing range, there was a tremendous amount of frustration within the community. As a result, alcohol became a problem. The crime rates increased, and conflicts among the members, relationships in the surrounding neighborhood, unbalanced feelings toward one another. When we had celebrations or any recreation activity here, we had outsiders come in. Just load us to this outside area over here. From outsiders, some people came from Lloydminster, Marwayne, St. Paul, Meadow Lake, come here to share their days with us. But when alcohol became a problem and the crime rate increased, we kind of scared our neighboring communities away. They kind of hesitate to come here. But now it's starting to shape up again. It's starting to look a little different. We had a beautiful real good New Year's dance here. This hall was just full. And the dances before that, we had a round dance, and it was full. So it's starting to look, I think, I don't know, it's starting to look a little better. We're starting to communicate, talk to one another. It's a little different atmosphere now. But for a while, it was strong there. Because of that sudden change and the transition, it's very hard to make a sudden adjustment overnight. You can't build a Cadillac out of a Pontiac overnight. I know Johnny Cash tried it. You ever hear his song? But anyway, to get this criminal system out of the members, taken a long, long while. And to get it, to adjust it to today's society, it's getting there. But the next problem is the funding. The money. There's another thing that I noticed. When the trapping and the fishing was going on in the 40s and before, the government, the federal government, had assisted the farmers, whoever wanted to farm, were given horses. Not everybody, I mean, there was, I think maybe 5 per year or something like that, 5 families or something, would get horses and harnessing cattle, and building supplies, and then move projects to get them started, get them established. When this bombing range or this settlement, after they got paid, that was nullified, that was cut out. There's no more now. So we said no more help in that direction. And so we're pretty well everybody for his own now, and it's still a problem. And I certainly hope that we go in some direction that we can get compensation for what we've lost. I really don't know what else to say here. Okay, maybe I can just stop there for now, so just something might refresh my memory, and so I'll be open for questions.
Thank you, sir. I certainly do have some questions, and obviously have a wealth of experience to give us. I'd like to just start right back when you were a young man, when you were on a farm here at Gold Lake, and that was the time before you started going out trapping and fishing. Was your family on that farm full time, or year-round?
No, I looked after the livestock in the winter months. That's the first year after I come out of school. My dad, well, he goes up north. He's gone up north every year. He's gone, so I look after the livestock at home. That was mainly my work during the winter months.
And you indicated that your grandfather had also been up in the Primrose Lake area, that he was I think you said a professional trapper all his life.
Yeah, that was the profession. Right.
I wonder if we can get some sort of time estimate on that. Do you know, for example, when your grandfather died, or how old he was then, when he would have started up in that area?
I don't know when he started, but he deceased in 1965 at the age of 92. And yeah, that's when he passed on.
I'm sorry, somebody said what's his name? What was your grandfather's name?
Oh, okay, Alphonse Mitchellus, yeah.
And your father's name was?
Pierre Mitchellus.
And if your grandfather had been there the greater part of his life, what did his father do? Did the family have any tradition of what your great-grandfather or your great-great-grandfather did, or where they came from, or what they did?
Well, you never did fully tell me exactly what his father or grandfather ever did. I don't know, because like I say, I went to boarding school for 10 years. I was away from the family home for 10 months of the year. Then when I did come back, I was over here for a short term, and I was gone again. So I didn't really get the history of his history. But I know his dad was a trapper as well up in, I think, north of Green Lake area, up in the north of Saskatchewan area.
The area where you were trapping when you started to trap is up around Muskeg Lake, is it?
Yes, that was when my grandfather shared his trap line with me. It was on the junction of the Marshall River and the Muskeg River on the Saskatchewan side. And after a year or so, I think it was 46, I had my own. I got this minute here. I've got my own trapping license and my fishing license. Let's see, 16, that would be 1944, 45. And later on, I was allotted a trap line up in the Muskeg Lake area to share with Mono Andrews. Him and I shared the same trapping areas in the Muskeg Lake and Muskeg River area.
And the trapping area that you shared, that would be a little further north and east of where your father's land is?
Yeah, right, about 20 miles east of there, north and east there.
You gave a good deal of information about the resources in the Primrose Lake area, the birch bark for canoes, the roots for making various types of laces and binding, I think you mentioned Benson's, logs and logging, that sort of thing. Were those resources available in the Cold Lake area or other reserves?
Oh, you're on reserve?
Mm-hmm.
No, not that plentiful, no. There wasn't.
Is there some reason that we've heard a great deal of evidence that about the resources that were available up there? Is there a difference between this area and that area that everything was so plentiful around Primrose Lake and the Primrose Lake area?
Well, yes, there was plenty there for just about anybody, for everybody. There was plenty of furs, there was plenty of good money to be made in fishing, and there was several logging camps in different parts of the bottom range, the Primrose Lake area, I should say.
And during the summer, you would work in summer logging camps after the trapping season?
Not me, no. We had a small farm, farm at home. A big farm at that time was classed maybe 100 acres, but we were farming about 60 to 70 acres at that time with horse and a small tractor. But that's what we did during the summer months. We also had cattle too, 30, 40 acres.
Would other people during the summer, if they weren't farming, work in logging camps, or was that a winter operation?
Well, during the summer months, like I said, when there were drifting tides up on the south shore here, Cold Lake, right in the south section there, but I employed a lot of locals here for peeling ties and loading ties for the railroad cars here at the Legoff Junction Road at the station. I employed a lot of people there at this time, if you wanted to work.
What kind of wood would be used for making the ties?
It's usually spruce logs.
And do you remember what kind of money a person could make, or what work was involved to earn that money in ties?
If you took it as I'm talking about, let's see, the first year we went up, I think we took a contract on to take 11 cents a log, or one railroad tie, that's 8 feet long. Now, the dimensions, it doesn't matter. But we took it 11 cents a log, but to cut, trim, buck up, skid, and haul to the skidway to the mill site for 11 cents a tie. That's what my dad contracted for.
What sort of distance would the skidding be? Obviously, you're cutting different areas, but on average, how far would you have to skid these logs after they're bucked and trimmed?
Well, it depends on how the length of time the mill was located there. If it's a new site where the logs are just right in the immediate area, that's where you make the money. But once the mill's been there for 2 years, of course, the logs become distant, and then you don't make the money. But I can't put a figure on that. There were days that we got 100 logs, and other days we made 150. Other days we can get, sometimes you get some bigger ones. You got to wrestle them a little more than smaller ones.
And it would be a different gang working in the mill that actually did the peeling and the squaring?
I didn't get that.
Would it be other people working at the mill, for example, who did the peeling and the squaring?
Oh yeah, I worked in the mill. There's other people working at the mill site. There's some training to be sawyers. Because I remember saw too, but I never did get an interest in it, but I did work in it.
I see you have all your fingers. So.
Right.
The business of cutting these ties, drifting ties, as you say, did that business last after the range was created for very long?
No, after the range took over, that was just shut off.
The mill was closed down?
Took nothing.
Now, is there just one mill that we're talking about at Cold Lake?
Oh, no.
Or were there several?
There were several mills. On one, I'd say about a 3 or 4 year span there was Ellers, Pollards, and Hatches, and one on the same river areas, you know, but they need a 6-mile stretch there.
And they all closed?
I think, oh yeah.
You did attend, at least stand at the door of some of the meetings at the Cold Lake Dance Hall when they were talking about compensation and that sort of thing?
Yeah, right. I did. I think on 3 different occasions I went there while my dad went there, and I just more or less drove for him. He had a little truck.
Do you remember who the government people were at those meetings, or what they
No,
said?
I don't remember. I know Stan Knapp and Nathan was there on one occasion, and then the Ackland, I forget his first name, he was more or less just scared the head of it all. But the other people I did.
When you indicated that you didn't get any compensation yourself, I wasn't sure what you meant there. Did you actually get some compensation in terms of signing it over to your father?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I got compensated. Yeah, I prepared to go with my dad.
I know that the commissioners have looked at a document that has some signatures on it. We've referred to it as Exhibit 1, and it has your name here with the treaty number 240.
That's right.
This particular one doesn't have your signature on it, but it's possible you signed another document. There were 2 or 3 of them running around.
Yeah, right. I think I signed the first one, but the last one I wasn't even here. I was in Europe, I was overseas in Europe at that time, serving with the armed forces. And when I did come back, there was a spell here. I was here for the summer when I went to Calgary Tech. I was there for Calgary.
Do you remember how the compensation was arranged? Did they send you a check and you sent it back, or
No,
did you receive instructions to give it to your father?
No, I didn't follow up on it at all. No, I just turned it over to give him the power of attorney to look after my own.
I'm sorry, you gave someone power of attorney?
My dad did.
Oh, yes. Do you remember the amount that was involved at all for your own compensation?
Yeah, if my memory serves me right, I think around about $500 for each thing.
And that would be for traps and other things?
Yeah, for equipment that was left up there, and so I don't know what the other details were. I never did see it.
Did you have a cabin up on Muskeg Lake or in that area?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I shared cabins with my grandfather, right? And Barnabas and Andrews and I shared accommodation with his family.
The other question or the area that I wanted to ask you about, you indicated that there used to be sort of an agricultural support program where people could get, at least some people could get some horses and some building supplies and some harness and that sort of thing. And that was before the bombing range was created?
Yeah, right.
And that might be 3, 4, 5 families a year, as I recall?
I think it was, I really can't pinpoint this exactly how many. I think there was about 2 or 3 families, 3 or 4 families per year. Now I just can't remember, but there wasn't a lot from there for farming, for equipment.
And that was some sort of program that was administered by the Department of Indian Affairs?
Yeah, right.
And after the bombing range was created, that stopped?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Well, those are certainly the areas that I wanted to ask a few more questions about based on what you said earlier. I'm sure that the commissioners may have something to add. And of course, if you think of something that you had meant to say, or that we've reminded you of that you'd like to say, of course you're free to do that as well. Mr. Chairman, I think if the commissioners have some questions, I'm concluded for the moment.
Okay, is there any questions from council? Well, thank you, Mr. Natchway, for coming here and helping us out with this. I do have some questions. I think the 1952, you said you joined the armed forces. Which armed forces? Was that Canadian armed forces?
Yeah, the Canadian Armed Forces, that is the Korean conflict. I enlisted to go to Korea.
Did you go first?
No, I got drafted at 27th Brigade in Germany at the Berlin crisis. For him to that.
How long were you in the armed forces?
Just 3 years, just one term.
5. That's when you say you came back, and that's when you saw the big difference in the community.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
In 1961, I gather, or somewhere in that area, there was a quitclaim, and that was a document you indicated that you signed, and Mr. Henderson indicated that there was 2 or 3 floating around. Did the one that you signed, or were you aware that there was more than one document?
Well, the way it was explained to me and put across to me was that just hearing from my dad, my father, he mentioned that they were bargaining, negotiating on the terms, I think it was a 20-year span, and they would get compensated for so much money to try and establish themselves in another form of lifestyle, whether they wanted to be a farmer or a dairy farmer or whatever. There was mentioned there, not quite the one meeting that I attended was mentioned there that there would be a possibility that they would review this periodically, but it didn't indicate just how often, but there was mentioned there, some of the members that were on the floor had requested that they have a 20-year package where at the end of 20 years they would review it, and if there was any other negotiation to be made would be wrapped up then. And
Do you recall when that was?
I beg your pardon?
Do you recall when that was?
Oh, that was in 48, about 1949, somewhere in there. I just can't recall. Actually, the timing dates is very close. But,
it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
How about, do you recall who was actually, were government people there speaking?
oh yeah, those government people there. Yeah.
Now, you indicated that you thought one of them was, or why don't you tell me, who was the government person?
Well, the one that I seen from that particular group later on and spoke to him later on was Beckman. I forget his first name. He was the only person that I...
And he would have been at that meeting. Now, when people were asking for this 20-year re-look at this thing, did he respond to that? Do you remember what was said by him?
Well, no, I didn't hear the tail end of that. That was the request from the members that were on the floor. I heard one or two of them stating the same, making the same statement, making the same request.
Right. But you don't recall whether or not there was any response to that request?
No.
Okay. I'd like to get back to that document. The one that we call Exhibit 1 here has it indicated on there that you were in Edmonton, or it says Edmonton. I don't know whether that means you were in Edmonton or what, but would that indicate that you were, is that an attempt to indicate that you were in Edmonton at the time?
Yeah, right.
Okay. If you would, could you turn to page 1?
This one?
It's got some writing at there. It's got some declaration at the top. So it starts, we undersigned. Is that the first page, Bill?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does that look anything like the document you signed?
Well, I didn't look at the heading, but the rest of it looks familiar, yeah.
Okay. When you signed that document, where did you sign it?
Where my name was. Yeah.
No, what was the location of where that document was presented to you and you signed?
You mean where?
Yeah, did somebody hand you that document?
Yeah, I live right here at the dance hall, the band hall.
And who handed you the document and asked you to sign it?
Well, it was in front of Stan Knapp.
So Stan Knapp was there?
The Indian agent at that time from... oh, correct me, just a minute here, I'm a little confused here now. Whew. I believe Stan Knapp was there, and also Eklund. I think it was both of them.
And did you have any discussion with them about what you were signing?
No, because I was already heading a different direction, and my dad just carried me. I just left everything.
What did you think you were signing?
Well, it was a lease, is what I was thinking, the term of the lease, a 20-year lease. And at that time, well then, we'd either renegotiate and get fully compensated and make other provisions for a different livelihood or lifestyle, whichever direction we were going. That was my...
Yes, do we have an elder or someone wants to call up the prayer?
I'd like to say good morning to everybody, first of all. I wish everybody a good day today. I'm from the Waterden Reserve, and I'm happy to be amongst you people here. And your hospitality has been really great. I really appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to say a prayer, but I'm going to do it in my language, the Cree language. Anotawina, Deus mandou. A minha pior, na nasconda, que eu avancia, eu ascami a toia, macia, estendida, anotawina, e minha matso. A montar macaski. A minha monta, anotawina, a mamove, o salita mona. Início minha, se vaso. A Deus estava aqui, minna taso Kristo na cita takmagitawa antuana nostuyas into tamada minna mokti ono mokti tesino igato manio tawata teniwasni udiskano amanagata o desina daskina meniwan kapunsawina sinutawiga igato manio tawata Existe itu teman dan tahunya, eksiwa so dari situ teman, ayat.
Could you tell us a little bit about what life was like prior to the bombing range and how you and your family meet your living?
Was he protected by you?
Oh, yeah, I do, I don't know what section or what paragraph it's in, but I do, just from what I heard, I never read it.
To your knowledge, were the people that were in that area, would you say that that was their view as well, that their right to be there was protected by the treaty?
Exactly. That was their livelihood, and that was their, it was there for them.
Now, in terms of the farming, do you recall in and around 1960 or perhaps late 50s, was there ever any indication to people from this community, or were you aware of any kind of arrangement that said that your people were going to be provided another way of life to make up for the loss of the trapping?
Yes, I did hear that. Right, I did hear that.
Okay, could you elaborate? Could you tell me what you heard? Do you remember?
Well, I think I just indicated here the moments ago that what I did hear was that they would review periodically see how what progress they were making in a different direction, but it never did happen. So let's say maybe 4 or 5 years from now, okay, Pierre, how are you making out since you lost the bottom range? But nothing like that ever did happen. And never come to me and ask me, how are you doing?
No one ever
What have you
came.
done since?
Do you know of anybody that anybody did come to? Did the government speak to anybody or
No,
talk to
I
anybody?
have never ever heard it. That was it. That was shut off right there. As far as I'm concerned, I have never spoke to anybody, no one ever approached me, and I've never heard of anyone coming to this area to see or to investigate or to check to see how the people are surviving, how they were operating.
Now, do you think that if the band had have had any help back in that period, that it would have been of assistance?
Just a minute, Mike. If
In other words, let's say,
just try that again.
yeah, no, if the government actually, in your view, if part of the deal was that you were supposed to be trained and provided other ways to make a living to make up for the trapping, is it your belief that if that had have happened, if they had actually held up that part of the bargain, that it would have assisted the community?
Yes, I think it would have, yeah. It certainly would have, yeah.
And was it your view, did you ever believe that those people would get back into the Primrose area and carry on trapping again someday?
Well, times have changed. If they got that back in 20 years, if the bombing went back in 20 years, for one thing, it would be awful foolish to take it back for the safety. It wouldn't be safe with it. Since then, now the gas and oil exploration has moved in. The population has started to increase in that area. The respect of the hunters and trappers is not here no more. You hear of accident shootings there just every so often. We had one here last summer. But it wouldn't be, you should be in danger if you took it back and went back go back home, somebody would shoot you.
Now, you also talked, Mr. Matchway, about when you came back to the community, you noticed a difference. Is it your opinion that that difference occurred as a result of their loss of those hunting and fishing rights in that area?
Exactly.
And
I support that 100%. Yeah.
what did you see when you came back? What did you see with your people?
Well, you could tell by the elders in group sessions, the atmosphere had changed. Their laughter and jokes and the festivities and the gatherings were starting to peter out.
Did you notice whether alcohol was a problem or anything?
Well, Yes, it was coming on then, yeah.
Now, do you know of any efforts on the part of the band, perhaps by the council or anyone, to get some help from government, to try to get some economic development programs going during that period, like right around the late 50s, early 60s? Do you know of anything like that?
No, I didn't, no, I don't, because I wasn't here, and I just lost communication with the administration here.
Okay, and finally, do you think if the assistance was there today, that this community could improve even greater than it is? If the assistance from government and the participation of government and to go back to that agreement, if that was part of the agreement, was to assist this community in finding other ways of economic development projects, do you think if that assistance was there even today, that would greatly enhance the opportunities of this community?
Yes, it would. It would help. And on the other hand, you must remember too, you've got a complete change of lifestyle. Now, to make that adjustment, if you put a handful of money here, and that change of that lifestyle varies. Well, one guy's going to make use of it and the other one's not. So, if they would have carried on assisting the members on yearly terms and training people, help them, assist them on their farms and to develop, to try and get adjusted to a new way of life. Yes, I would say that would be beneficial, but to give them a whole bunch of money and say, here's $10,000 one buy, that's yours, do whatever you want with it. Well, I don't think that would be the answer. But I would say certainly training and gradual assistance and to change that lifestyle, and I'm sure that they would get adjusted, and the members would get adjusted a lot sooner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Those are all of my questions. Commissioner Bellhard, do you have any questions?
Good morning, Mr. Matthews. What was the name of your unit that you were with for the Canadian Forces?
Not exactly. The 2nd of February, 1952.
Or just your unit name?
I think, right?
What unit?
Airborne Regiment, but they transferred me out of there and went to the Royal Edmonton Regiment, and then I got transferred to 25th Brigade because the Princess Patricia's Light Infantry were a 25th Brigade with the Korean conflict, and the 27th Brigade, that was the Royal Edmonton Regiment, were the 27th Brigade in Europe, and that's where I got pulled off the draft and sent over to Europe.
You're too tough for the Airborne Regiment.
Well, I was really in for that, but they didn't. They were, I don't know, I guess they thought I was NCO material, and they sent me to school, and I went through some courses, and I became a sergeant. I was a sergeant when I came out, when I got discharged, and I had quite a few courses, and it educated me, and I did do a lot.
Did you ever try to find work at the Cold Lake Air Base when it was under construction?
No. My intention when I got out of the service was to get to the RCMP, which I did. I got endorsed up to the RCMP. Matter of fact, all I had to do was find the dotted line when I was enlisted, and they made me a good offer. But I guess it just wasn't meant for me to be an RCMP lawmaker. I don't know. Going back to my kinfolk, my mother's dad was a Scotsman, he was a blacksmith, and mechanically inclined, and my uncle and that end was the same. He was mechanically inclined, he was a welder, and Northwood, and actually that was more of my way of life, was to go into mechanical repairs and
Last question. You said that you average $3,000 per season while you were home. Does this include the value of the meat that you killed, the berries, what makes it the $3,000?
The $3,000, I would say, like, when I went in the fall of the year, say if I trapped between October and December, I would maybe make $1,000. So after that, maybe I go to a logging camp and stay there till maybe March, April, make another $1,000. Then I go to traffic mass in the spring and then make another $1,000. And this is about the way it went. So I had a choice to go either way. Still come out with a few bucks and then survive through summer and then work on the farm on the summer.
And you mentioned that compensation amounted to $500?
I beg your pardon?
Your compensation payment amounted to $500?
Yeah, right.
What do you think of that? Is that a fair and equitable compensation?
No.
You're glad to ask that.
No, I didn't even look at it. I never seen the check. I didn't give it out that year that I take it like this. It's not worth it for me to even look at it. I'll just go another direction if it is.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Prentice?
Thank you very much. I wanted to carry on that same line of questioning. Your family at that time would have had a successful farm, a 60 to 70 acre farm. And I presume that's where you were raised as a young lad. And your father also would have trapped in the Primrose area, is that right?
Right.
There were quite a number of families that had the same combination of lifestyle and income, is that right?
Right.
And I'm less interested in the absolute dollars of how much money you would make from the Primrose area, but can you tell us what percentage of your livelihood as a family would come from the Primrose area?
You mean the amount of time spent? Or in terms of...
I know it's a difficult question to answer, and maybe it does come down to the dollars, but your livelihood as a family was very much dependent on both Primrose and the farm that you had. I'm trying to get an idea of what was more important, where was most of the family income, and the things which you needed to live, and some of that was game, I understand, where it came from.
It's thick here somewhere.
Would the farm itself have produced a significant income? Or did what you did on the farm, was that for the use of the family?
Well, it was it was a combination of both. The hunting trapping was a lifestyle. That was more important. Farming was more like a secondary. It was something that you had to get educated to. Trapping, you already knew that. That was something that was number one. Trapping and fishing, that was number one. That's all you did. Farming was more or less a secondary.
So the trapping was the principal way in which your father, for example, would have earned his livelihood.
Yeah, certainly, exactly.
And the money which your family had, the cash which your family had to spend and to buy things, that would have come from the trapping and the fishing.
Yeah, right.
It would not have come from the farming.
No.
And your family trapped and fished in the area north of Primrose Lake, did I understand, there near Martin River and Muskeg River?
Oh yeah, it's right in the Primrose Lake area.
And you had trapping cabins there.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much. You're very helpful.
A few more, Mr. Henderson?
Two more, very briefly. Mr. Bachelor is looking at his watch too.
Okay, get after it.
There's a message in there somewhere. The one question that was suggested to me is if you could tell the commissioners how you got the lumber to build your first house.
Oh, well, let's see. I was about 21 years of age at that time. I worked in a logging camp at Loby's logging camp up north there, at Primrose Mountain. I had a big logging camp there. And they cut up a bunch of lumber. I worked there the whole winter. That particular winter I worked there the whole winter, right from October till, December till November. And what they did was, they couldn't pay me in cash until they sold or market their lumber. And the market wasn't due until maybe in the spring after the lumber was planed. So they couldn't pay me, so what I did was, well, give me a voucher to the store where I could get a line of credit, and you look after that for me, and 50%, and then 50% give me in lumber. So they did. So they hauled some lumber over to my place, and I built myself a granary and a cook a shack, and a couple of granaries in the shack, and that's how I got my building. Another house too, of course.
Of course. We haven't been here in 50-degree below weather. I'd certainly want something around here. I just have one other question, and I hope that you can help us with it. We don't have this on the record, and we've got to write a report that a lot of people who have never lived in the north have to read. When you say you were out in Primrose Lake and you were hunting and trapping and everything else, and there was no waste, I hope we can clear up the fact that means to me that if you caught a beaver, you would skin the beaver, stretch the hide, and eat the beaver. Is that no waste? Is that what you mean by that?
I myself have never had a beaver, no.
But what would you do with the meat then?
No, well, maybe hand it over to the granddad or something. You did dress it.
Yeah.
You did dress it, you know. I mean, you didn't dispose of it, no. You dress it up and you take it over to my granddad and he take care of it.
I myself am not fond of muskrat, but the same thing would apply.
The same thing, right?
And
I am never again. All right.
Geez, I've been hungry. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
before we deteriorate to a cooking class, you also said there was something you did with the bones too. What was that?
Well, the bones, of course, the antler, you know what they do with the antler, you know, the trophy. This portion, the lower, the knee portion of the moose leg is used for tanning hide. They take the
nerve?
No, the inner liner of the hide. The inner liner is a sort of a, maybe something has a name for it, the flesh, yeah, they something got away with the bone because the blade will cut the hide, and this don't. It just scrapes.
Well, so you use the lower leg to make the scraper because that won't damage
Yeah,
the
right.
scraper.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for helping us with that. As I say, we haven't gotten into it before, and I think I know why now. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Do you have anything else you'd like to add as a result of the questions or what you've heard? Is there anything more that you'd like to tell us?
No, I know I missed a lot, but I can't do it.
You can
I just want to thank everybody that, everyone here and taking up their time and my time. I hope that we accomplished some favorable results.
well, we're
And I hope
delighted.
I certainly been of some value, some help to you.
I think I speak for everyone here that you've enlightened us a great deal. Obviously, your life has been very interesting. You've done a lot of things and accomplished a lot of things, and that sounds like a fascinating life. We're delighted that you could take the trouble and the time to come and help us and share with us that experience. It's been most educational, and I have to personally say that it was very enjoyable listening to you. And, you've been a big help, and for that we appreciate and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We've all been reading our watches, so I think what we'll do is adjourn. And why don't we reconvene at around 2:15? 2:15, so we'll stand adjourned until 2:15.
afternoon.
Sir, I understand you're now 59 years old?
Yeah.
And as a young man, you spent time in the Primrose Lake area?
I left school in 1949. The spring of 50, that was 1950, spring of 50, I left school. And the fall of 1950, I went back with my dad there to their trap lines. And I trapped with my dad from 1950 to 1952.
And do you recall any interruption with the trapping or the Lake of Primrose Lake in 1952?
In 1952, I remember right, there's a couple of guys that came in on a plane, and they were talking to my dad at the time, and they were telling my dad that they were there on behalf of Indian Affairs or the government or whoever they were representing. And they were talking about taking away, there'd be no more, there wouldn't be trapping any longer after this, and that they would be getting paid for their equipment. And they were taking inventory list of all the equipment that my dad had. Snowshoes, guns, and everything. And I had snowshoes at the time, and a gun, and everything. It was all, we all took everything on paper. And that spring, I think, I don't know what time of the month it was that spring, but he got paid, he got compensated for his equipment. And since I didn't have any license or anything, I was just sort of a solid partner to my dad. According to my honest, I seen it that they took part of his money, I think in the amount of $470 out of his compensation, and gave it to me. And I got that money, $470 for 4 years. And the last payment was 1956. It wasn't money either, it was just POs, purchase orders.
Prior to creating the range, did you have your own trapping license?
No, I never did. I was in school, like I say, till 1950. I never held a license or of any kind, even fishing or.
And you're quite confident that the money that you did get by way of purchase order was in fact compensation that was intended for your father?
Yeah.
Did you have to sign any papers to get that compensation?
No. I signed, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I signed some paper, when I got my $470.
Can I ask you, sir, if your treaty number is 142?
That was my dad's treaty number. My number is 275.
And was your dad's name Francis as well?
No, his name is Teddy.
Yes, I see that. Was he also known as Thaddeus?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I'll show the Exhibit 1.
Yes, please.
Okay. The reason why I had my dad's treaty number, I think in them days, in order to get your treaty number, your own, you had to be 21. and I was under 21 at that time. So I didn't have my own treaty number.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Skinny's looking at Exhibit 1 at the point where apparently both his father and he are indicated under the same treaty number 142, which is the third page. I'll ask you now, sir, if you recognize that as your signature.
Yeah, it is.
And do you remember signing that at all?
No, not after 40 years.
Just to show you the first page as well and ask if that jogs your memory at all, or if that
No.
you recollect anything about it.
No, it doesn't bring back anything to me right now because, no. Like I said, 40 years ago, this was 1956. And the thing here too is that the time we were made to sign these things, you just give us a piece of, like this one here. This is the actor's signature. They just handed me a paper like this here, you sign here. And I never bothered to look at what was written on it. But like I said, my dad did all the negotiating and never got involved.
Do you remember if anybody explained what the signature was for?
No.
I'll just move back to my usual place. After the range came in, how did you make a living after that, sir?
I think we've been, during the time of from 1950 to 1952, 53, when we were trapping up there, the trapping was no good. I went to Thai camps, but the village, I was close by, about 7 or 8 miles away, which we called, people used to call it Suckerville. And that's where all the fishermen would, was a sort of a fisherman's village. And I used to go down there and look for a job, and I did get a job fishing. And I did that during the winter months. And if not that, I went to Thai camps. There was several around the area. So there was no shortage of jobs. There was no shortage of work in the winter time or any time in them days.
And Suckerville, as I recall, is right on Primrose Lake.
Yes, Suckerville. I could show you on the map, but it's a little village.
And are you saying that you were fishing there after the range was created?
As a hired hand, I was fishing there. I didn't have my own license or nothing. I was just hired by the day.
And how much fishing was permitted in there at that time?
Well, I wouldn't know. I got no idea how much fishing, how much fish they were supposed to be taking. Apparently, I suppose there was a quota of how many fish they would catch. I don't know.
And were the Thai camps that you worked in, were they also located in the air weapons range?
Yeah.
And,
most of them.
And were they open after the range was created?
No, I don't think so. I think it was open from maybe to 1954. We used to be working in Long Bay, a place they call Long Bay. We worked for a company there, cutting ties.
And they were excluded from the range after 1954?
Whether they were excluded or not, I don't know. Once I got out of there, I never thought I could.
Did you ever go back to Suckerville after that?
No.
What other sorts of work could you do after that?
Well, I wandered around quite a bit. I went working around Dawson Creek, BC, Jasper, and all over, wherever we get jobs. Used to wander around Lethbridge. from 1956 to 1961, I think, we'd go to Lethbridge for sugar beating during the summer months.
Were there other times that you were allowed back into to the Primrose area, or?
The thing there that happened there to true is that the Indian people from the reserve here negotiated with either the provincial or federal to go back fishing in Primrose during the holidays. And I think they negotiated for about 2 years or something like that. And they finally were allowed to go back to go fishing in Primrose during the Christmas holidays and the Easter holidays. And
I'm just trying to get a date for that. Do you remember what year? Around?
no, I don't remember what year. Anyway, they did go back up there. They were fishing up there. There's quite a few fishermen from here. And later on, they got phased out. White people that were commercial fishermen, you know, the Indians from here, they formed a co-op. They joined a co-op with a white fishermen. And after a few years, they were phased right out. They were voted out of white. Anyway, I don't think today there's no commercial fishermen in Cold Lake in that co-op at all. And at that time too, I remember my dad. He got a flag from the Armed Forces, the Air Force. It was a big orange flag. It was bigger than a square. And they got permission to go hunting during the season too, the Christmas season, to go fish, to go hunting moose or something. And wherever they were supposed to be hunting, they were supposed to spread that flag out on the ground, you know, so that they would know where they were at. I remember my dad having a flag.
And after were you involved in negotiations for compensation?
No,
in 1958?
No, I wasn't involved.
Did you subsequently become a member of council here at Cold Lake?
I became a council in 1968. I was elected in 1968, and I stayed there till 1982.
And you subsequently became chief of it?
Yeah, I was one of the long line of chiefs. I have a list of names here, the chiefs that were used to be, you know, for this reserve. There's about 20 of them, I guess. And I was among one of them.
And I think they're showing that you were an acting chief around 1970, somewhere in that area.
1974.
1974? Now, during this period, did the subject of the Primrose Lake Air Weapons Range and the 20-year term become a hot topic for council?
It did become a topic after 1972, where my dad used to talk about they gave up the bombing range for 20 years. He used to say to me that. Then after 20 years, it would be negotiable again. And after 20 years passed, which is 1972, there was no action taken for nobody negotiated anything about that bombing range, and the people started talking about it. So therefore, at that time, I was one of the leaders, or maybe I was in the council at that time, and the people would say maybe we should try and do something about this. And we did. And we started acting. They started taking action at that time. And we went from Indian Affairs wouldn't do nothing. And then we tried Indian Association of Alberta. At that time, Harold Curtin was the president of Indian Association. And we tried with them. And nothing ever resulted in our favor because we had no money, money was our biggest problem. And finally, I think in 1986 or something, 87, we took some money out of our band fund and hired Mr. Vandeman and John Cormac, I think his name was, and they started taking action only then.
Do you remember back in '72, were there community meetings that people attended to find out what was going on? Were there delegations that went to Indian Affairs, or do you recall who went?
I believe there was a delegation. I believe there was a delegation of some people that started trying to negotiate with Indian Affairs, see what could be done about negotiating after 20 years. But like I say, really nothing really happened with Indian Affairs anyway. They just ignored the whole thing.
Do you remember the circumstances in which the claim that we're reviewing right now was submitted in 1975 together with the Indian Association?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that it was brought in 1975 where the Indian Association was.
And were there any meetings in the community about sending in that claim?
There was a few band meetings, and the people, it was the people that approved that we take money from our band funds to hire lawyers and to hire people to go after this claim.